Huda, we need to talk about this. Alright, so I finally got my hands on the brand new Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. I picked mine up in the color Cinnamon 440G. Okay, my biggest beef with this foundation is that they do not have enough neutral undertones for their deeper colors in the range. 1. 2, the range itself is not expansive enough. I will say I am not too excited about this foundation. I did not have high hopes about this foundation when I got in store and was able to swatch and experience the colors and that color range issue. That to me was a major turnoff. I mean, I'm bummed out because I was excited about this foundation. I like the idea of a natural foundation that has claims to be weightless, comfortable, buildable. You can build it up to a full to medium coverage, and it's supposed to be long wearing as well with the 12-hour wear. I think that's pretty decent. So again, I picked up the 440G. I do not have a golden undertone. I'm almost strictly a neutral undertone, but in this case, the neutral undertone shade was just really light on me. And again, I don't know if this will work, so we're going to try it out together. For these foundation reviews, I typically go in with a little color corrector around my mouth and on my cheeks because that's where I have hyperpigmentation that I like to just add a little extra coverage to cover up. But I know that people really like to see how well the product covers up blemishes and imperfections, and so I'm going to go in and give the people what they want and not apply any color corrector. I'm not applying any all over face primer, but I did apply onto my T-zone some of this new primer from One Size. This is their Oil Sucker Extreme Mattifying Primer, and I just put a little bit on my T-zone because I really do want to test the extent to which this product is supposed to be long wearing. Actually, before I go in, let me tell you a little bit about the claims of this foundation. It's supposed to be pore blurring with the use of silica powder. It's supposed to be hydrating with 1.5% niacinamide to help with that hydration throughout the day. It's supposed to offer medium buildable coverage. It's supposed to offer a 12-hour wear, and it's supposed to be both sweat and humidity proof. It is fragrance free, which I'll test in just a minute. It's supposed to offer a natural finish, and it's supposed to be non-comedogenic and overall offer that airbrush finish. You can see it is runny, but not incredibly runny. I mean, looking at the color, it could work. Let's see. I'm not hopeful that the undertone will be right. I hope the shade is okay. But let's go in. Right out the gate, it's definitely very gold. I can see that golden yellow undertone coming through, which again, I do not have a yellow undertone. So we'll see if I can make this work. I'm sure I can. The color match isn't terrible, and it's not perfect at the same time. Let's just finish applying this. So I'll say right out the gate, I've covered up most of the left side of my face, you're right. And it's not awful, but it's also very golden. So I can see that yellow undertone, which is not my proper undertone. So I can see I really wish that it was a little more neutral and balanced. But again, I knew that wouldn't be the case because this 440G is a golden undertone. However, the color match isn't terrible. Because if you look at each side of my face, it's not terrible. You can see this is a very light coverage. So I had a full-size pump on the back of my hand here, and I'll come in a little closer, that you can still see my imperfections coming through. I can see the darkness on the cheek area, and I can see this gray area around my mouth, which is where again I have my hyperpigmentation. Again, color correcting will resolve for that and really neutralize that. But overall, I don't think the color match was terribly off. It just isn't doing much for me. It is a medium buildable coverage foundation. So do I feel like it's blurring out anything? Not necessarily. I think I would have to build it up. I'm gonna go ahead and apply some to the right side of my face, your left, and see what that does, and then maybe add a little bit more on before I tell you what I think about the coverage overall. Okay, so this is one coat. I'll go ahead and let you see what that looks like. Okay, so right away I can see a little bit of blurring on the skin. Not a ton of blurring because I haven't built it up. I only put one coat, so just one pump on about each sides of my face. It does feel lightweight. Again, I haven't built it up, so I don't know how it will feel if I add another layer on, which I plan to do just to see how well it does do as you build it up a little bit more. I will also say it does feel comfortable so far, but we'll see again how long it continues to feel comfortable. Does it look like a filter effect? I don't feel like I look like I have a filter on, but let's go and apply another coat to see how it holds up. I won't do 2 full pumps. And I'll concentrate in the areas where I want a little more coverage, which is around my mouth and on my cheeks. Ugh, that yellow undertone is driving me nuts. Way too yellow. And then the other ones, just in case you're curious about why I didn't go with one of the non-golden options, it would be too warm. So there are golden, red, and neutral undertones. I can get by with a golden more than I can get by with a warm undertone complexion product. Okay, I've gone in with the 2 coats. I still don't know what I think about this. I don't know that it's providing me a filter-like effect. When I'm looking in my mirror here, I'm just not seeing what this blurring filtered effect. So I just think maybe for me it won't work if I don't go in first with my color corrector. So that's the thing again worth noting, is that if you are already the type of person who color corrects, perhaps this would get you closer to that blurred filtered effect that is part of the major marketing claim behind this foundation. Does it feel hydrating? I have combination skin, so hydrating isn't necessarily a must. For me, it does not feel drying. Are my pores blurred? I mean, I have really large pores here on my cheeks area, my upper cheek, and the sort of rounder, more apples of my cheeks, and they still feel, the pores are still pouring. The silica powder, I don't know that it's doing a ton to necessarily blur my pores out. I mean, they still look pretty big, and I don't expect them to not be at this point. They're just large. I have larger pores. But overall, outside of the undertone issue with this particular shade that I've selected, I think it's okay. Let me go in with the rest of my makeup. We'll come back per usual and see how it wore, how it compared. Okay, we're back. I have finally applied the rest of my makeup along with the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Finish Foundation in the color Cinnamon 440G. And I have some thoughts before we get to the wear test. Okay, the first half of the video when I was applying the product, I went on and I was laying into Huda on the color range. That cinnamon for me is still there because I still think it's unacceptable for the foundation to have, I think, somewhere between 29 and 30 shades. And I say that because there are 30 shades on the Huda Beauty website, but there are only 29 shades on Sephora's website. So I'm not sure if you know the details, make it make sense in the comments down below, but there are somewhere between 29 and 30 shades. And the color, the issue with the deeper the colors get in the range, not having neutral options is still a problem. And for me, I think that is my biggest problem with the foundation at this very moment. It's that I noticed how yellow, how golden, because of that golden undertone, really how yellow my face looked. I have more of a neutral undertone. So if you look at my neck, and you see that compared to my actual face, there is a difference. I just think that for me, this particular foundation does not have a color that works. Let me talk about how it feels after first applying it relative to the claims. I pulled up Sephora again just to make sure that I am really tracking Huda's claims around this. I still feel like my pores are visible. I have a really large pores. So any foundation that has a claim that it's supposed to be pore blurring, I don't have a lot of high hopes for it. So I would say it does look a little blurring, but for the most part, you can still see my pores. Like, the pores are giving pores. Very minimal blurring. Okay, the hydration claim. It's supposed to have 1.5% niacinamide. It does not feel hydrating, but maybe it is. Having just tested the brand new Patrick Ta Major Skin Hydrolux Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation, which was an incredibly hydrating foundation. I would not say this Huda Beauty Easy Blur Foundation is hydrating. I don't feel like it's dry. I don't have drier skin skin. So if you have drier skin, you might notice it clinging to patches of drier skin on your face. For me, I'm not seeing anywhere where that's the case necessarily. At least at this point, I'd be more worried about the long wear, this 12-hour wear claim that it has, than the hydration claim. But I did want to speak to that at least right now. The other thing that it claims to be is a medium buildable coverage foundation. Now, I said this quite a bit before I applied the rest of my makeup products, which is that I didn't apply any color corrector. I would normally apply color corrector. I have some graying going on around my smile lines. I already have creasing in my smile lines, by the way. I didn't apply extra primer to that area to try to combat the creasing that I get in my smile lines. It's no getting around it. I have deeper set smile lines, so I kind of expected it. It is a bummer. I do have a little bit of settling in that area already, so we'll see what it'll look like later on. I did go in with 2 coats, so it says the medium buildable, I think, is once you've applied 2 to 3 coats. I would say the medium coverage claim holds up. Those are the major claims. It's about 81 degrees where I am, and it's also not terribly humid, so I probably won't be able to put that humidity claim to the test where I am right now, but we'll see how it holds up. It is sunny, it is hot, like 81 is hot, it's not super hot, but I should be able to test whether or not it is sweat proof for sure. Now, the 12-hour wear, it should not separate and look a hot mess at the end of 12 hours, and that is going to be what I'm looking for. All right, without any further ado, let's go into the wear test, and I'll come back tonight before I take this makeup off, and I'll show you how it wore. I'll tell you my first impressions, and we'll close this video out. All right, welcome back to the check-in for the wear test. So it's been about 10 hours, which is typically around the time that I like to wear my foundations. Anyways, for these wear tests, I would normally have taken this foundation off much earlier, in all honesty. I wouldn't typically want to wear my foundation for 12 hours. Just as a reminder, in terms of some of the claims, this is supposed to be a pore minimizing, blurring, lightweight, medium coverage buildable, long wear foundation, I think up to 12 hours. Those are the things that I'm gonna judge it against. There's some typical things that I like to think about when I'm doing my wear test. For me, that'll help me decide whether or not the foundation wears well based on my skin type, which is combination. So I am oilier in my T-zone, and as you can see, I am pretty oily. I am fairly oily. My forehead is pretty oily. My nose is very oily. I have a pretty significant amount of breakdown of foundation around my smile lines. I'll just show you really quickly. Just want you to be able to see how the foundation looks on the skin overall. So overall, it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great. Just as a reminder, I didn't put any all over primer, although I did apply this One Size Oil Sucker Extreme Mattifying Alkaline Primer. I just wanted to try this out. I picked this up in my last haul and I haven't tried it out. I don't know if this product doesn't work or if this Huda Beauty foundation is really not long wearing, because I am so oily. Like, I am so oily. I feel like I'm oilier than I normally am. This foundation isn't marketed as one that's extremely hydrating, so I would have expected it to look more matte, especially given that I did go in with the oil slicker product from One Size. I'm surprised how bad the foundation looks. I mean, you can see that it's still on. Like, there hasn't been significant breakdown of the product on my face outside of my smile line. Like, my smile lines are very creased. There is a decent amount of separation. Though I didn't go touch up my smile lines, the foundation is separated pretty drastically there. I have some separation of the foundation around my nose, but not too bad. However, the reality is I would never have my makeup on this long unless I was just out on the town. And if I was out, I would absolutely go in and touch it up. So I do want to show you, I haven't done this previously, but I want to show you what it would look like if you were planning on touching it up, just in case you needed to. I'm not going to touch up the foundation in my smile line, but I am going to go in with a powder. So this is just the powder that I used earlier from Rare Beauty. Powder that I hauled more recently. This is what it looks like. I'm just gonna go through and add just a little bit with a fluffy brush from Sephora and kind of go over the areas where I'm really oily. So just a little bit and see what it does. So it already looks a little better. I mean, I didn't go in, if I were really touching this up, I would go into my smile lines and kind of take a puff or something like this. And I would go in and I would apply a little bit of that product to the smile lines to really try to fill it in a little bit more to see if I can make it look better. But it is almost 10:40 at night. I'm ready to take this makeup off. Overall, here's my thought. You see how it wore, it broke down. It doesn't feel like it's long wearing. So I cannot see how it couldn't last up to 12 hours for a person who has combination or oily skin. Maybe if you have normal to dry skin, it will hold up a lot better for you. But for my combo and oily skin sisters and brothers out there, this foundation will require adequate primer and most certainly will require you to touch it up throughout that 12 hours if you want it to wear nicely. Okay, my overall recommendation on the foundation. So I still think Huda dropped the ball when it comes to not only just the shade range itself, but the undertone shade range pairings, especially when you get to the deeper shades. So for me, that is something that I don't think I can get over. My face is yellow. My face is more yellow. Like it's yellower than my actual undertone. You can see like right here maybe, like I have a neutral undertone. And so I don't know that I can recommend the foundation. The jury is still out around whether or not I will keep this foundation. I don't know. Like because the undertone is so much of an issue for me, I don't know if it makes sense for me to keep it. If I'm able to figure out how to get it to pull a little more neutral for me and I'm able to get it to wear better with a better primer, then maybe I'll keep it. But you know, you win some, you lose some. Overall, I'm excited that I was able to get my hands on it. We made it to the end of the video. If you like the content, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss my weekly uploads. And leave me a comment down below. Let me know whether or not you picked this product up already. If so, what is your experience? And if you're considering picking it up, let me know down in the comments as well. And until next time.